Ah, Spawn versus Ghost Rider. Battle of the Hell Servants who became Hell Kings. I hope they do this fight justice. These are two of the most hardcore superheroes of all time. As for who I think should win, that depends entirely on how the characters are built. You see, there are a lot of different versions of the characters. There's normal Ghost Rider, the Ghost Rider that's normally out and about doing things in the comics. Then there's Unbound Zarathos, from when Johnny lets his pet demon Zarathos off the leash. Then there's Hell King Ghost Rider, more properly Hell King Johnny, comes from a storyline where the heroes managed to get Johnny Blaze on the throne of Mephisto, which funneled all of Mephisto's power into Johnny at the cost of slowly corrupting him. Spawn, on the other hand, has normal Spawn. That's the Spawn seen in Spawn, 1 through 185, that all the kids from the 90s have at least one action figure and trading card of. Then there's Hell King Spawn. That's the Spawn that took over the 8th level of Hell and sat on Malbolgia's throne, which funneled Malbolgia's power into him at the cost of slowly corrupting him. And, hey, wait a minute. Did Marvel copy this storyline from Spawn? I think they copied this storyline from Spawn. And then there's Divine Spawn. That's from when Spawn ate the fruit of the Tree of Life and gained powers comparable to God and Satan. And then there's Man of Miracles Spawn, from when Spawn merged with the true God and creator of his setting and gained enough power to recreate the universe. Yes, Spawn made a universe once. But we're still not done with Spawn, because after he recreated the universe, he took on a form. I guess we can call it modern Spawn. That's very similar to his original form, but with enhanced powers and a sword made by God that can seal demons called the Sword of the Spirit. That's a nice little Ephesians reference. But you know, Bibleman's got the sword and armor of the Spirit. I guess that makes him twice as powerful as Spawn. So that's 3 Ghost Riders and 5 Spawns to compare with each other. This isn't going to be a short video, and wait, hold on. The previews are out, and there's no angel wings or hellfire crowns. They're sticking to the normal versions. That's kind of awkward. I mean, they usually go all in when it comes to powered-up versions on Death Battle. On one hand, I was kind of hoping to see Hell King Spawn fight a war with Hell King Johnny with armies of Hellspawn and Ghost Riders fighting in the background. But on the other hand, less work for me. We're going to use Spawn as the focus for this video since he's way more complicated than Ghost Rider when it comes to powers and abilities. So open up a can of Surge and turn on some MTV, because here comes Spawn. Spawn's main power is his store of necroplasm, also called psychoplasm, a thought-responsive substance that forms the underlying substrate of Hell. A little tangent here, but when people think of Spawn's influences, they usually list Spidey, Batman, Venom, Punisher, Ghost Rider, and maybe a little Doctor Strange. But Damian Hellstrom should really be added to the list, since I think Todd might have gotten the idea for necroplasm from Damian's elemental trident, which is made of a thought-reactive metal called Netherium. Netherium, like necroplasm, is mined out of Hell itself. I'm just going to put that out there. Spawn's necroplasm can be thought of as a green-colored mana bar with which he can cast spells, and he's got quite the comprehensive spellbook. He's reading off the 12th level spell list and then some. He can make explosions. Stop time, and you should know guys with time powers do pretty well on this show. Alter, create, and destroy matter at the atomic level. Control minds, often in the form of trapping really bad dudes in really bad living nightmares. Consume and weaponize sins. Teleport by breaking himself down into molecules and transporting himself at the speed of light. That's how it works in Star Trek, by the way. And even raise the dead, and not in the mindless zombie minion way. Though he can do that too, but in the full-on Lazarus from the tomb way. This isn't even a comprehensive list of Spawn's powers. A full list would probably look like a phone book. I just listed what's probably the most applicable in this fight. Spawn has got way more variety in his powers than Ghost Rider. But there's a catch. He's only got so much necroplasm inside him. If you've read Spawn comics, you might have come across this. This is the necroplasm counter. It starts with 9,999 units of necroplasm. Personally, I would have gone with 666 units, but I guess Todd wanted to amp his boy a little. What these units are called, I do not know. Necros, Nex, Necos. But whatever they're called, Spawn only has a limited supply of necroplasm to fuel his powers, and if he runs dry, he's kicked back to hell and Malbolgia takes his soul. Again. When people think of Spawn, they typically think of a flowing cape, chains, and big guns. But though these are hallmarks of the character, they're simply used so that Spawn can conserve his true power. You see, Todd McFarlane wanted Spawn to be a little like Superman and a little like Batman. He wanted him to be like Superman in that, if he went all out, he would be a heavyweight. But he also wanted him to be like Batman in that he was relatively vulnerable to dangers around him. The necroplasm counter was how Spawn ended up a little like Batman and a little like Superman, and also a little like Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Venom, Punisher, and Damian Hellstrom. The point is, Spawn can be very powerful like Superman, but only until he starts running low on juice. Then he has to be resourceful like Batman. That being said, he does have workarounds to his limited supply. His most major workaround is his living suit, K7 Letha. Yes, that's her name. Letha can grab things, transport Spawn and others to a pocket dimension called Spawn's personal hell, because it's Spawn, and most often makes chains, lots and lots of chains. Since Letha gets her energy from passively munching on nearby souls, she doesn't drain the necroplasm battery. Letha is Spawn's primary way to get around his timer, but his secondary way is to take advantage of his experience as a glowy assassin and use gigantic firearms. It's not going to be decisive, but expect Spawn to shoot Ghost Rider with a giant gun at least once in the fight, just because it would be in character. And hey, look at that! I was right! To recharge his mana bar, Spawn draws power from deep shadows or by consuming sins. The greatest source of sins in the Spawn-verse, by the way, happens to be worms, though Spawn can pull sins from normal people as well. In addition to his necroplasm timer, Spawn has a few more weaknesses. If his head gets cut off, he dies. Add Highlander to the list of Spawn influences. And while divine weapons forged by heaven don't one-shot him, they still hurt him. Angela and Redeemer have always given Spawn a hard time, though they've never been completely beyond Spawn's ability to defeat. Now with Spawn's character sheet out of the way, it's time to answer the question, can normal Spawn defeat normal Ghost Rider? Well, first we gotta ask the question, can Spawn put down Ghost Rider? The ghost part of Ghost Rider's name is very literal. If you break the skeleton, it just comes back in a puff of hellfire. So Spawn can't physically destroy Ghost Rider, not even if he blows him apart at the atomic level. But could one of his other powers shut him down? Spawn can control the spirits of the dead, so could he control Ghost Rider? I'm going to say no. Spawn's never controlled something as big and powerful as Zarathos before, and as for controlling Johnny's soul, and then getting Johnny to shut down Zarathos, that's a clever move. But that's something Spawn won't be able to do because Johnny's soul is on contract with Mephisto. Could Spawn use telepathy to shut down Ghost Rider? Ghost Rider has shown himself resistant to, but not immune to telepathy. Doctor Strange was able to enter Ghost Rider's mind, but only with difficulty. Mojo was able to mind control Ghost Rider, but only until Ghost Rider got so angry that he broke loose. Spawn could probably get him to stand still for a moment, but the problem then becomes Spawn running out his mana bar, constantly refreshing the hypnotism. Eventually, Ghost Rider is going to break free from the mind control, either through his own power or through Spawn running out of necro juice. Could Spawn kill Ghost Rider by hitting him with his own sins? Johnny Blaze might not have a lot of sins, but Zarathos certainly does. While such a move would knock Zarathos off his pins, I don't think it would kill him, So you run into the same problem with a telepathy trap. Spawn can hurt Ghost Rider and knock him down, but he can't kill him. Ghost Rider, on the other hand, has lots of ways to put down Spawn for good. Due to the Highlander rule, simple brute force will kill Spawn given enough time, especially when going for a headshot is an intuitive move when your opponent keeps regenerating. Then there's the Necroplasm timer. Fighting in the shadows isn't going to work, because Ghost Rider is going to make things very hot and very bright. So Spawn will have to drain Zarathos of his sins to keep from running out of juice. Fortunately for him, Zarathos is dripping with sin. Unfortunately for him, Ghost Rider can also absorb sin, so it'll just end in a stalemate. This is probably one of the few cases in all of fiction where a character will be trying to keep their sins from being absolved. Ghost Rider's penance stare will also be effective but not decisive. Spawn literally eats guilt and sin for lunch. The penance stare isn't going to do him in, but the slideshow effect that accompanies the penance stare will get Spawn's attention. Spawn has always carried a lot of guilt in his heart with regards to his family, so being forced to watch a cold lip show of him failing Wanda will set him up long enough for Ghost Rider to get a hit in. Another advantage Ghost Rider has over Spawn, and it's a weird one, is that Spawn has a vulnerability to divine weapons, and Ghost Rider is a divine weapon. I know that sounds really weird, but Donny Cates retconned Zarathos and the Spirit of Vengeance. They're not always treated as the same thing, as being angels. Unfallen angels. Yeah, somehow attempting to torture cavemen for eternity doesn't make an angel fall, which begs the question. What did the angels that actually fell do? But the point here is that Ghost Rider is going to trigger Spawn's weakness to divine weapons on its own. That wouldn't be decisive, but when stacked together with all the other advantages Ghost Rider has, it's significant. So when it comes to the classic, normal versions of Ghost Rider and Spawn fighting, Ghost Rider wins. But there is a kicker. After a considerable number of stories and powered-up forms, modern Spawn gets himself a sword forged by God that can seal demons. Ghost Rider is vulnerable to holy weapons, and Zarathos has a bad habit of being sealed in medallions and motorcycle carnies. You see where this is going, right? If Spawn brings out his God Sword, I think he beats Ghost Rider. I even think he beats Unbound Zarathos. You would need to bring out Hell King Johnny with Mephisto's powers to beat Spawn at that point. And if you bring out Hell King Johnny, why not bring out Hell King Spawn? See? This is why this fight is a pain to talk about. Who wins depends on entirely which versions enter the arena. As to who I think Death Battle will have win, I'm going to put my marker on Ghost Rider. Consider this. The evident gap between Kratos and Asura was bridged by a world tree. Marvel has its own world tree. And on Earth 9997, Mephisto created the world tree and the entire Marvel multiverse as part of his plot to indefinitely postpone Revelation, where God Almighty drags him out of hell. Does that Mephisto scale to Ghost Rider? I don't know, but the show has had weirder scaling chains. The point is, Death Battle really likes Yggdrasil. Is there a Yggdrasil in Spawn? I don't think so. Spawn Bros, we're not even tree level. Given the weird nature of the Image multiverse, Man of Miracles Spawn could get over the entire Marvel multiverse, save like the one above all. But I don't think he or Divine Spawn are going to show up. If Hell King Spawn isn't in the fight, why would they be? So I think Ghost Rider is going to win, with the caveat being that Spawn has very solid paths to victory depending on what Death Battle allows him to bring to the table. If at any point they bring up a God Sword, expect Johnny's soul to get shredded, sealed, or shredded and sealed. If at any point they bring up the Man of Miracles, expect Zarathos and Mephisto to get uncreated out of the multiverse. So, until next time, viewer. Tell me who you think is going to drag the other to hell in the comments. Though maybe it's who is going to drag the other to heaven in this case.